Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to episode 24. Today, inshallah, we're going to be talking about a few habits that a successful Muslimah would be using in their daily life. Now, oftentimes when you're a mum especially, you get so caught up in parenting that you don't actually have time to reflect and think about yourself and how you can improve yourself. And the reason that's really important is because these are the kind of things that then have an impact on you and in your behavior and in turn on your relationship with those around you, including your children. And that's why it's important sometimes to stop and take out some time for yourself. So let's begin. One of the things we can do, inshallah, is have a consistent prayer and reflection routine. What do I mean by this? Now, as a Muslimah, obviously you'll be doing your 5 daily prayers, your salah. And apart from these prayers, we can also use this as an opportunity to do adhkar, which is the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can either do this after your 5 daily prayers, which might be difficult because, we live in the UK and wherever in the world you are, everyone has their own different times and routines. And sometimes the prayer times are close together and sometimes they're spread out. Sometimes at a particular prayer time, you might be at work or you might be really busy with the children. You might need to cook. So you might not have that time to sit after you've done your 5 daily prayer to do some sort of reflection. So maybe start by choosing a couple of the prayers when you can do this. So for example, in the Salatul Fajr time or after Salatul Aisha time, just before you go to bed, where you can just take out some time after the prayer, after you've done your salah, and sit down on the prayer mat and, really do some remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever it is that's worrying you at that particular time in your life. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If nothing's worrying you, alhamdulillah, always be either thankful or ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, anything that you're going through that you need to have patience with or that you need an answer for, that you're seeking an answer for. Because at the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who answers all the prayers. So this is one thing that we can do as a good Muslimah. Another thing we can do is take care of our time management. Now, what do I mean by this? Ladies who are quite successful, are able to balance their multiple responsibilities. And as Muslim women, we always have lots of responsibilities. You never just have one. So it might be that you're a wife, it might be that you're a mum, it might be that you're working because you have to, it might be that you have so many things on, but it's really important to not let that overtake your life. It's really important to not let it overwhelm you and to try and manage your time effectively and really take a step back and think, how many days of the week am I spending on doing X, Y, and Z, or even within one day. How much time am I giving to the children? How much time am I at work? And is there anything where I can, change things to rebalance? Is there anywhere where I can cut things out that I don't need to be doing right now? Or are there things that you need to be doing and you're not doing, and how can you do them? So you need to really think about how you're managing your time. You have 24 hours in a day, obviously, but sometimes you just have too much to do in one day. So that's why it's really, really important that you manage your time. And the reason this is important is because if we don't manage it, and it could end up overwhelming us, and then it could end up having a negative impact on our health, and then it could end up having a negative impact on those around us. So that's another thing to be wary of. Another thing is self-discipline. We all know what self-discipline means, to be disciplined within ourselves. But by self-discipline, I mean that you can stick to your goals and plans. Okay, so following on from the previous tip about time management, you should have concise targets of what you want to achieve. Okay, so for example, the month of Ramadan is coming up really soon. What is it that you want to achieve in the month of Ramadan? We all know the basics of Ramadan and that we should increase our ibadah in the month of Ramadan, but you as a person specifically, your time is going to be different, and your plans and your goals are going to be different to the next person's. So you need to sit down and decide what your targets specifically are. And when I do a Ramadan workshop every year, alhamdulillah, this is one of the things that I ask and make my students do right at the end of the workshop, is to set themselves SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and there's a time frame in which you're going to do them. So whether that's relating to reading the Quran or doing more adhkar or any other goals that you have in your life. So it's really important to be able to have these targets, because then you can see what's going well and what's not going well, and you can tick off targets when you've done them. It doesn't even need to apply to things like your ibadah. It could just be for your household chores, right? If you've got lots to do in one day, have a plan. What do I need to get done? When am I going to do it? So for example, when it comes to chores, am I going to do the same chore at the same time? Do I have to do the same thing every single day? Are there things that I can do on alternate days? What time is best for me to do it? Is it the first thing when I wake up? Is it the last thing before I go to bed, etc.? And just by writing things down on a post-it note and having some sort of an organized plan will be really beneficial for you, inshallah. Another thing we can talk about is education. Now, the first word to be revealed from the Quran was Iqra, read. And thus, Islam has always given an importance to education and knowledge. Okay, so when I say knowledge, we should be improving our knowledge all the time. So obviously, there's the Islamic knowledge. So things like your knowledge of the Quran, your knowledge of the Hadith, etc. And we live in a day and age where it's so easy to increase our knowledge. You can do it by listening to lectures. You can do it on the go. You don't even have to sit and concentrate and do it. You can go to halaqas in the masjid or wherever else you can access knowledge from. So make a plan to increase your knowledge. And this is really important, especially if you're going to go on and have a family of your own and pass this knowledge on to. It's really important that the children learn it from you first, right? As a mom, you are their first teacher, always. So it's really important that you have that knowledge yourself so you can then pass it on. You can't pass any knowledge on or teach your children things if you don't know yourself what's right and what's wrong, or you don't equip yourself so that, say, for example, you're living in a non-Muslim country and your children ask questions. Even if you're living in a Muslim country, you should be able to have the answer to those questions. You know, when they see other people practicing other things and people from other cultures, you should be able to answer their questions. And you should just have that knowledge yourself so you can practice things correctly your own self as well. And also make sure you increase your skills for things in the dunya as well. And the reason that's really important is because oftentimes we moan and we complain and we want change when specific things happen. But if you are not equipped with knowledge to know how to go about and make the change, then that's not going to be really helpful, is it? So that's another thing that you should be really wary of. And of course, the best thing you can do is not only learn knowledge, but learn it, implement it, and then teach it to one other person. And that'll really solidify the knowledge that you've got, inshallah. Another thing is strong relationships. Now, when I say this, I mean surround yourself by righteous people. Okay, the people who help you do good, the people who help develop your character, the people who help you do what's right by Islam. Okay, and they pay proper attention to this. For example, when we were younger, some of the youth, even today still, you might ask them, oh, did you pray a salah? And they might say, oh, I was embarrassed to because I was in a group of friends and nobody else was praying, etc. And this is why it's really important to surround yourself with like-minded friends. And also remove yourself from friendships where there's negativity or toxic nature around you, because this, in the same vein, can be really harmful, right? Because then this is what you're surrounded by day in, day out. And it does start to then have a negative impact on you. So this is why it's really important to forge strong relationships with the right people, inshallah. Another thing you can do as a Muslimah is volunteering. Now, the reason I say this, especially volunteering in your own communities, because it's something that we desperately need in today's day and age. And this is something I do actively with my children as well. And it's not just because obviously there's the reward of doing the volunteer work itself, but also because it helps you counteract the effects of stress, anger, anxiety. It's the obviously social impact of going out there and meeting like-minded sisters. This is really good for your psychological well-being. and you make these connections with other people, alhamdulillah, and it actually scientifically has been shown to improve your mood and to reduce stress and anxiety. So this, and it increases your happiness as well. So this is something else that you can go out and actively think about doing. And you don't need to do it in a massive capacity if it's not within your ability, but at least just try and do it once a week or even once a month, so you're giving something back to society. But imagine lots of sisters got together and did volunteering. You could do tons of things with that. You can run classes, kids clubs, kids activities, etc. So there's a lot of benefits of doing that, inshallah. And also it provides a sense of purpose, okay? Because it means you can have a new meaning and direction in your life. If you're somebody that maybe has been lonely and not gone out there, not found like-minded sisters. Sometimes sisters come to me and say that they find it really hard to practice their deen because they're alone, because they might not be surrounded by family, friends, immediate family and friends who practice the same deen as they do. So that's another reason why it's important to go out and, do something in the community where you can find, inshallah, like-minded sisters. And the last point is to have good empathy and compassion, okay? So by having empathy and compassion, and I feel like this is really, really important, especially for women, especially in the day and age we live in today, where it's really easy to do things like backbiting and bringing other women down and being nasty and talking bad about other people. Why don't we show a bit more empathy and compassion towards each other, okay? And if we can do this, we can really put out an effort to understand each other and support each other, then inshallah, not only is this rewardable, but it's also helping build really nice relationships, and it's also creating a positive, uplifting environment, inshallah, for yourself and for those around you. And then you're setting this example for your children. So these are just some of the ways in which, these are some of the habits in which you can become a successful Muslimah. And I hope you found these useful, inshallah. I'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.